bro. Welcome to Collective Bro online class. So in this section of the current affairs class, we are going to discuss about the ease of doing business in India and the India's score or India's improvement in the ease of doing business and the concerns and the challenges that is still remaining before India. So let's get into the analysis. So let's discuss why the news has got the current affair relevance. So here the India has recently improved its ranking in the ease of doing business and it has jumped 23 point. In the previous year it has been ranked 100 and now it has reached the 77th. So this improvement in ease of doing ranking index is second in the consecutive times. In the last year India has improved its ranking by 30 position or 30 point. And this improvement in India's ease of doing business index is giving or sending the right signals for the firming up of the investor sentiment. So this topic comes under the GS3 syllabus under the subtopic investment model. Now further analyzing the ease of doing business index. So here this index is being published by the World Bank. So this point is relevant for the prelims exam. And further, it is an aggregate figure that includes different parameters which define the ease of doing business in the country. But here, you should be remembering that it take into consider two cities, that is Delhi and Mumbai only, even though the index is released for the country as a whole. And it is computed by aggregating this distance to frontier score of different economies. So what is this distance to frontier? So this distance to frontier is a score that is scale from 0 to 100, where this 0 represents the lowest performance and this 100 represents the frontier. So if the country is getting a score of 75, which means it has to move 25 more points to be perfect or to be well in its frontier score or to reach the targeted reform. So based on this frontier score, this ease of doing business index is prepared. Then for each of the indicators that forms part of this static ease of doing business, a distance frontier score is computed and all this score are put together to finally form this ease of doing business. And this aggregate score becomes the ease of doing business index. So further, there are indicators like construction permit, registration, getting credit, tax payment mechanisms, etc., which is taken as indicators for calculating this distance to frontier score. And these countries have been ranked according to those ranking or those score that they are getting in this distance to frontier calculation. Now let's analyze the limitation of the ease of doing business index. So the ease of doing business or the doing business ranking have their limitation. They are restricted to the findings of the two cities from India, that is Mumbai and Delhi. So the researchers in recent years shows that the de facto reality at the enterprises level may be significantly different and vary across states depending on governance quality and the state capacity among other factors. Now let's analyze the India's performance. So as I said earlier, India has improved 23 spot to rank 77th this time. So this is substantial jump in the ranking for the second year running. Last year India has improved its score by 30 notch. Further, India registered an improvement in areas like starting a business, dealing with the construction permit, getting electricity, getting credit, paying tax and trading across the border. So this all accounts to the government reforms that the government has brought in recent times. Now let's analyze few of the reforms that is introduced by the government which helped India to improve its score or its performance in the ease of doing business index. So here the government has undertaken targeted efforts to address the shortcomings in the important areas, and one of those important areas is the cross-border trade. And in this regard, the government has introduced this National Trade Facilitation Action Plan, and that increased the efficiency of the cross-border trade and thereby improved the India's ranking in trading across the border. Further, it is putting in place the architecture, or the government has introduced an architecture for decreasing this border and the documentary compliance time, which also improved India's ranking in trading across the border and permitting the exporters to electronically seal their containers at their own facilities, and further reducing this physical inspection to only 5% of their all shipments, and this 5% of their shipments will be selected randomly. Then the implementation of the single window clearance system for the construction permit in the Delhi and this online building permit system in the Mumbai has helped India to improve its ranking in the getting construction permit in the ease of doing business index. But these two reforms are very specific to these two cities, which is taking or which is considered for the ease of doing business index, and it doesn't reflect the whole ease of doing business in the India. Then coming to the trajectory of this construction industry, that is these reforms specifically introduced in these two cities, this construction industry has a significant impact on the Indian economy, both in terms of the employment generation and also the upstream industries like steel and the cement. So this construction industry act as a bedrock for the rest of the industries also, and this improvement or this reforms introduced in this construction industries also helped in ease of doing business for the rest of the industries also. Then further, let's analyze the concerns and challenges that is related to the ease of doing business index in India. And now we should be specifically focusing on the IBC, which is the Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code, which is for the resolution. So taking the Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code as a critical reform, as any in recent times, the India's rank has dropped from 108 into 103, even though India has brought this IBC, that is Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code reform. Here its overall score didn't decline significantly, but still India has lost 5 points. Then the sluggish rate of the dissolution of the cases that has come under the IBC accounts for this low performance of India in the resolution. And further, let's analyze the concerns and challenges with respect to tax structure. So recently, India has introduced a major tax reform, that is goods and service tax. So there has been an improvement in India's paying tax score, but still it ranks below the 100. So even though the India has introduced this goods and service tax, that is a single tax structure, it couldn't improve its score much, and it still ranks below the 100. Then the number of hours taken in a year to file is rose to 275 from the earlier 214. Then further, the delay in GST refund have constrained the working capital for the exporters. And the Federation of the Indian Export Organization has stated that the process of input tax credit refund being partly electronic and partly manual has been the main impediment here. Instead of bringing a single system, it still follows the electronic as well as the manual system. So in order to improve India's ranking in this tax structure, or to improve its performance in the tax, this two different system has to be brought into a single compliance system. With this, we are coming to the conclusion. So here, the detailed current affairs note, you can get it from the Telegram channel or from our website. For that, you can register to the collectorbro.com, and the video analysis classes will be posted in the YouTube channel. And for the daily updates, you can register or you can subscribe to the YouTube channel. And these notes for the video classes will be shared in our WhatsApp channel and in Telegram channel, and also available with the website. So to joining the Telegram channel,